For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise. And you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Happy Friday morning to you. Wow, what a week it's been. First of all, I'm going to be honest with you right off the top here. We're not even a minute into the show. I'm not going to bullcrap with you, okay? It's Thursday night. All right. See, the thing, when I was hosting a top 40 music show across like 30, I think at the height of the show, we were on 40 some stations. I had to bullcrap and be, pretend that it was such and such day or such and such week. But the reality was, or even when we were doing these live broadcasts, these live travel shows, there was no possible way that I could be in one place and then 15 minutes later be in another place across the city, and then 15 minutes later another place across the city. And there were times when I would even have the date written in front of me. If we were in the studio taping a show and we would have, a celebrity guest or whatever it was always timed to their, the release of their album or an episode of a TV show or something like that. So we would tape it 3 weeks in advance. So, like the MasterChef winners or the finalists, we would tape the interview like 3-4 weeks. So the regular viewer at home, there's maybe still 6-7 people in the competition. We, we're jumping ahead. We would pre-tape and then, and that's, so I'm honest with you now. It's Thursday night. It's May 30th. The Trump verdict was just, read a couple hours ago. It's not Friday morning, but just for the sake of producers and whatever, it's Friday morning. Okay. But anyway, so enough about that rant. That's what we're going to talk about today though, because I always laugh when people, being a Canadian, and I spend a lot of time in the United States, right? I have a place in West Hollywood with my husband, but we're not Americans. He's Brazilian, I'm Canadian, and we're both just sort of outsiders when we're in the US. So we have these observations that it can go one of two ways, right? People will either say to you, you're not American, shut up, your opinion doesn't matter. Or what do outsiders, Canadians, Brazilians, what do outsiders think of Americans? Really. And I always laugh about that too, because anytime that there's a mass shooting, Wolf Blitzer on CNN, I've heard him say it more than once, actually. The world is watching and wondering what's going on in America. Well, it's United States, first of all. It's not just America. And you just want to scream at the TV and go, you know what we're thinking. You know what we're all saying. So I think that he just puts it out there rhetorically, perhaps, but nevertheless. And then you go on Twitter and you see, it's just interesting watching Canadians chime in on American stuff, and not really much in the way of Canadian news or scandal makes it through to American audiences, unless it's, something that involves Americans, usually, right? A pipeline or something, perhaps. But the Trump verdict, as an entertainment reporter, I had to jump on and give the celebrity reactions to the verdict, and on our company produces, syndicated radio content and has for 20 some years. So I'm still an entertainment correspondent for some of the stations, and that's my job. So, when there's a celebrity death, when there's something kind of big, that's when they dust me off the red carpet has been. So I'm gonna recap what was all kind of said and talked about in the celebrity world yesterday. Yesterday being Thursday, even though it's Thursday for me right now. Are you following this? And then we're just a day away from the kickoff to Pride, which that's, every company is all of a sudden gay or trans or lesbian or, every other letter of the alphabet. So me being a gay man for as long as I have been, I was on the phone with one of my radio colleagues in Vancouver just the other day. He's in his 60s, and so we were chatting about Pride and kind of how it's evolved and how it's changed over the years. So I'm going to be sharing that perspective from a 60-year-old man. I'm in my 40s, and then this younger generation coming up. I have been in touch with some of the younger whippersnappers in their 20s to hear their thoughts on Pride. So that's all coming up on the Scribble, and it starts right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
JB here on the Scribble. So as I'm going to use the word outsider again, being non-American person. That's what I mean as an outsider. But the first Trump presidential election, right? All of us outsiders were kind of sitting there, and I think a lot of Americans too, were saying, I kind of want him to get into office just to see how this plays out because it's going to be funny as hell. And then the reality sets in when the Americans are like, oh crap, what did we just do? He's totally fucking with our, our country, our lives, really, our livelihood, our lives, everything. And then, again, for us outsiders, it was just delicious. And then you get the pandemic, which, I mean, let's just, again, sheer loss of life aside, right? I mean, my grandma died from it too, so I'm certainly not mocking the pandemic or anything. But that could not have happened to a better president, a better situation. I mean, come on, right? So, now again, being the entertainment reporter or correspondent that I am, that was something that I was talking about, I don't know how often, during our daily entertainment show. Anytime there was a big deal, a big hubbub, and the celebrities were reacting to what Trump was doing, well then yes, I was, brought on the radio to talk about how the rich and famous and, are all roasting him, really. So the trial, though, as it played out for, I guess it was 6 or 7 weeks, I mean, it really wasn't getting much attention. I don't know that people were really talking about it. Now, again, I surround myself with people in the news business, so that's where I'm a little bit. But I know when I've spoken, I've had conversations with my cousin or my, sister-in-law, whoever, nobody was really following it. But at the same time, they're Canadians and they're not really news people anyway. So, that's maybe a little bit one-sided on that regard. But, even the pundits, even the cable news talking heads were basically saying that there isn't really much interest. Even in New York, you see the shots from outside, aside from that one guy that set himself on fire, whatever the fuck that was. But there were not really any big crowds. Now, there was Thursday, but that's just because this was the culmination of everything. But I think the way that Trump had framed it, or maybe sort of was encouraging, when he says something, he's really telling you to do it, but he's not telling you to do it, but he's telling you to do it, but he's not. I think that's what he was hoping for at the beginning of this, was that the mob, and maybe that's a bad word just considering January 6th, but the masses, let's say, the masses of people would descend on the courthouse. And for the first, at least 1 day or 2 days they did, from pictures in New York. But, and I think that's also too, at the same time, people are like, we kind of have stuff going on. Like, we can't, this is like 6 weeks of our time. Like, and again, maybe Trump supporters aren't employed. Maybe they don't work, so they would have the time. But, that is really weird to expect that, just that they're going to be out there. You're going to be out there for 6 weeks straight. And really, what's the purpose? You're inside the building. They're not anywhere near allowed where your car is, they might see you wave or perhaps drive by in a vehicle with tinted windows that they can't see. And then there's the 4 or 5 black SUVs. And it's like, have you seen that one? No, he's in that one. Oh, he's in the next one. Oh, that's the one he's in. Like, maybe, So the whole thing is just very showy, right? I mean, that's also, I guess, American politics in a nutshell. So it was interesting to, I was supposed to start my vacation with my husband on Thursday, today, but early in the afternoon, when all of a sudden we hear that there's a verdict, it was like, oh crap. So the good thing, though, with my reporting is I'm not the one who jumps on the air right away, because you've got the initial news first. That's first and foremost on a talk radio station or anything like that. Then once that settles down, an hour into it, oh, what are the celebrities saying? And then that's where I come in. So I didn't have to be, right there as soon as the verdict was read. I knew going into it, okay, JB, your Thursday afternoon and evening is going to be doing this. And so that's why I just said to my team, let's just do the podcast Thursday night because I'm already still going from this. And now here we are. So let's recap. Excuse me. Let's recap some of those. I need a sip of water. Hold on. Been talking all day. Let's recap those celebrity reactions from the Twitter and Instagram. Stephen King tweeted, "The Republican candidate for president is a convicted felon." Henry Winkler tweeted, "Guilty on all in all caps." Barbara Streisand tweeted, "Convicted felon Donald Trump is blaming the judge, the jury, and New York for being found guilty on 34 counts. He will never accept accountability for his crimes. Americans must not allow this felon anywhere near the White House again." Cheryl Lee Ralph tweeted, "Former President Donald Trump has been found guilty on all 34 counts he faced. A cheer has erupted from Collect Pond Park." George Takei tweeted, "We should start referring to him as 34 instead of 45. Rob Reiner said, "If Trump becomes a convicted felon and elected officials are still willing to support him, I'm sure they'll have no problem with him having used the N-word." Now, let me give you some background on that, because just earlier in the day, a former... we don't have time to go over it? Okay, well, he's accused of using the N-word on Celebrity Apprentice. Now somebody who's just come out of their 20-year non-disclosure agreement from working on the show, and he's saying that it's happened. They're moving me along because I'm already late. Okay. D.L. Hughley tweeted, "Trump says Mother Teresa couldn't beat the charges. I'm pretty sure Mother Teresa has never raw dogged a hooker." Omarosa, from Apprentice. Omarosa said, "This verdict delivers a powerful blow to DJT, who believes that he is above the law. Donald has been trumped by a jury of his peers." Vivek A. Fox said, "Wowzers, got him." Mandy Moore, "Some semblance of accountability is gratifying." Yvette Nicole Brown tweeted, "No one is above the law, not even your criminal papa, Pappy, not even your criminal Pappy at Donald J. Trump Jr. You daddy is a felon 34 times over. Lock her up seems silly now, doesn't it, little buddy? It's almost like you and your daddy brought this embarrassment on yourselves. What a day." Ellen Barkin tweeted to Trump's account, "As my bubby used to say, how do you like them apples?" Linda Carter said, 34 is now my favorite number." Anna Gastire said, "In retrospect, I'm glad I decided not to drink every time they said guilty because I'd never have made it through making dinner." Al Franken tweeted, "This is a great day because justice prevailed, but a sad day because we have a former president who committed several crimes. If this had gotten out before the 2016 election, if they hadn't paid off Stormy Daniels and Karen McDougal, I believe we would have avoided a Trump presidency. The job now is to prevent another Trump presidency." Patton Oswalt said, "Abraham Lincoln and now Stormy Daniels, two porn stars who..." Oh boy. "Two porn stars who, when history called, stepped up to save America." John Leguizamo said, "Finally, the Teflon Don has been held accountable. No one is above the law. Of Americans want justice and facts, but not Fox News. I believe they are the single reason our democracy is as shaky as it is. They operate on alternate facts. You can't have a functioning democracy if don't all have access to the same facts. We need to bring back the fairness doctrine that kept news legit." I've always, for the past few years, I've actually wanted to create a Twitter account that just goes and corrects people's spelling and capitalization and tweets and punctuation and all that crap, especially celebrities. I do. Everybody just has, or a lot of people just have those fake accounts, right, where they just troll people or whatever it is. I want to do that and just go and just casually correct people's spelling and grammar and sentences. So that's how the celebrity world reacted to the Trump verdict. And it's a bit strange. Like I said, people who now know that this guy, well, not now, no, people have known for a long time about the crime or, what have you. So it's interesting that he's, getting setting fundraising records and all these kinds of things. And it just doesn't seem real as an outsider. It's sort of strange. I remember saying to, Kathy Griffin was on our show a few weeks ago, and I said to her just when we were off the air, I don't know if it was on the air or off air, but I said to her anyway, it's very strange that we live in this world where you're not going to tell me what to do. You're not going to force you're not going to force me to take a vaccine. You're not going to do this. You're not going to push me around. I say what happens. I'm in control. And then you have somebody like this, the president, who tells you to do this or give me money or whatever, and people do it. So I'm a little bit confused, right? There's sort of this weird not parallel. I don't even know what the word would be this time of night, but if you have a nobody's going to tell me what to do attitude about a vaccine and just all these things like that, you should have the exact same thing of, hey, give me money, don't you? Like, really? Especially a millionaire. He's not a billionaire, right? They've determined that. So I don't know. But anyway, those are just my thoughts as an outsider looking in. I mean, now I will admit, I honestly did think that the Trump mob would be riled up, and I thought that we were going to go into Thursday night watching live news coverage of, people burning things down across the country. I really did think that. Not saying that I hoped, well, I guess in a way I kind of did, because it's the same thing, and I said about these violent protests that are happening about whatever crisis around the world. Like, you're destroying your own property. I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to me. That's like my dogs understand that, you destroy your toy or your bed or whatever it is, it's gone. Then it's no more. Then it's thrown away. It's taken away from you. And my pets have learned that very early on. Same thing with a kid, right? You destroy a kid, well, then it's gone. There you go. You've ruined it. And it's in our city in Canada, in Winnipeg, people are like smashing out the bus shelter windows and things like that. And I realize that maybe it's just the hooligans that don't take the bus, but I don't understand. Like, it's city property, so you're eventually you're paying to have it replaced. So it doesn't really. And same thing with the university protests. You're destroying universities. Now, again, I realize that a lot of people are not university students. I get that, but you did have university students that were very, very aggressive and very, very violent, and we're destroying it. I'm thinking, but your tuition is going to go up then. Like, you're the one who's not going to be allowed back next year. So hey, my company is called Speak Free Media. So I'm certainly not about shutting people up and telling them not to speak their mind. Hello, it's called Speak Free Media. I'm just saying it's very weird that, somebody says this or jump and you just do it. Oh, I've been convicted. I'm a felon. I'm going to be your next president. Give me money. And then you rewind, a couple years where he's like, I don't need anybody's money. I'm the richest man, and blah, blah, blah. It's a bit strange. All right. So now, speaking of money and corporate greed, we're going to talk about Pride, because that kicks off this weekend for the month of June. Talking about that on the Scribble right after this.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Happy Pride, everybody. JB here, back on the Scribble. June is here, and it was a couple of weeks ago. I went to a store, and they had in the windows it wasn't Pride flags, but I mean, it was their Pride branded signage, which had the rainbow colors, and then their logo, of course, and celebrate, or whatever bullshit words they had on it. And to me, who's an older gay gentleman, I guess now I'm in that category, I just kind of roll my eyes, because now the whole gay, lesbian, bi, trans it's such a trendy thing now, whereas when I was growing up, it was you almost didn't want to be, because of some of the things you would encounter right in your personal life. So when I was on the phone with one of my radio colleagues, he's in his 60s. He's going to be 70 actually pretty soon. And he lives in Vancouver, which is a very, it's a big city. They've got a massive Pride event in August. And we talk every Wednesday actually. And so we were just talking the other day. And I said, Happy Pride, what are you looking for? Do you go to it still? Like, what's the deal? And he said, I remember when it was first of all called Gay Pride. And then the community was called GLB. It was the GLB community. And then they flipped it for some reason and it became LGB. And then we added LGBT. And then we added the LGBTQ. And it was, he's kind of saying, well, it's really changed over the years. It's great that there's more inclusivity, that people are more welcome to attend. But it used to kind of be our parade, meaning the gay folk. And it's now it's is it even really about being gay, or is it just kind of being about who you want to be? Now, again, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with being who you want to be, but you've kind of pissed on what the initial sort of fight was for Pride, right? And the gay community is very, I think anyway, very. I don't know, now that I'm actually saying it, I don't know that the gay community, at least the newer generation, I don't know if they understand the whole wow, we don't have time. They told me I've got 10 minutes, so I'm going to wrap it up. But I know the story of Pride, as do most of the gay guys in my generation. The younger folks, I don't know that they understand the significance of it. I think they see it as this is a chance to be who I am, which again is fine, but not understand the fight that really happened to get where it is today. And of course, we applaud the people who did fight that fight back in the day. I wasn't around at the time, but it certainly does have some significance to me as a as a senior gay now. So to go into a store and you see you're just like, ugh, and then the staff is all wearing T-shirts, and you just what it reminds me of is in Canada where you wear a poppy for Remembrance Day. So basically, November 1st is kind of when you wear the little red, the flower, the red poppy on your shirt. And then, you have it for November 11th, and then November 12th, it's gone. Like, it's just kind of, it's done. It's a forgotten about thing. And that's sort of what Pride is becoming now, too, right? Where it's like, okay, it's the last couple days of May. Let's dust off the Pride stuff, and let's dust off all the rainbow branded products that we are now going to profit off of. So for as much as we are Pride supporter, and if you are being a Pride supporter in the sense of being a corporate donor or something like that, okay, fine, you're giving money to the gay community or whatever. I mean, does that give you license now to then profit off of the general public? Right? I mean, maybe there are some stores that are donating that money from those, products. But I think we've heard the same thing. I know Raylene, one of my, she's our accountant. She's battled breast cancer twice, and she kind of, she's grateful that there's attention to the cause, to the, to the disease, to cancer. But that's where she has an issue with all these branded products. And it's like, well, unless you're donating, the proceeds or whatever, it's kind of like you're profiting off of breast cancer, really, is what you're doing. And that's a little bit different than profiting off of the gay community, right? I mean, one is you're profiting off of a disease and death, and then the other one is you're profiting on this now trendy lifestyle that people are living. And, that's where there's a bit of blurred lines. So that's where I'm always kind of like, ugh, when it comes to these, show your pride and use hashtag, the store's name Pride, or Pride store's name. Well, no, now it's become about you. It's not about the actual community anymore. So now let me also be clear, like, I've never really been a fan of Pride to begin with. And I was saying this to my colleague where, for me, I've always it's cliche to go and say, well, I'm just a guy who likes guys. I'm not flaming. There's no rainbow products in our house. We don't have torso sculptures. We don't have like half naked men posters and things on our walls. My husband is a very masculine Brazilian guy. So there's no real femininity. There's no fanny packs. There's no purses. There's no clutches. There's no nail polish. There's none of that stuff. Now, again, let me repeat myself. If that's what you do, that's fine, but that's not our life. So whenever I would see the gay pride parade on TV as a kid or teenager, it always really turned me off because I became embarrassed thinking, I'm going to have to come out. Like, I feel like my parents are watching the news, and, on the news, they're going to show the biggest, fattest drag queen with the clown makeup and the flouncing around and the helium-voiced gay guy. And there's just that stereotype that they're putting forward. And I remember being in the room with my parents watching the news, and that comes on, and just thinking like, oh my God, they're going to think that like, that's not me. That's not me. I'm about to come out whenever I was ready to come out, and that was almost my fear for coming out, is that's not a representation of how I am. So for me, in my 20s and, well, I mean, again, even today, would I choose to go to a Pride event? No, really. We covered it for our radio shows. When we would do travel programming, we would cover Pride. For our businesses that we have, a men's swimwear store and our coffee company, we've gone to them, but it's not our idea of fun to go to something like that. And because it's just not our scene. Like I said, if people want to do that, great. Not for us, though. And that's, I think, a big part of it, too, was because it's not a representation of who we are. It's fine if people want to do that, but like, it's kind of weird how we're all sort of grouped into one big community when we're not. I don't really have any connection or I can't relate to a lesbian, right? I can't relate to women, period. Women in general, not necessarily just a lesbian. I also can't relate to somebody who's bi, about being attracted to, but like I can't, that's not me. And then the trans thing, I certainly don't. And I know I've told this story on the show before when Bruce Jenner was sitting down with, it was Diane Sawyer, right? Or was it Barbara Walt? Diane Sawyer. He did an interview with Diane Sawyer. That was when there was that anticipation of what he was going to say, right? But we didn't know. I mean, well, we in the media knew, but the general public didn't know. And so when Bruce Jenner sits down with Diane Sawyer and makes this announcement, I, of course, being the entertainment correspondent, have to come on the radio the next day and talk about it. And for some reason, the regular morning show hosts that I interact with were almost wanting sort of like my personal opinion on, Bruce Jenner's announcement that he was going to become a woman, or, blah, blah, blah. And I'm not offended by that. Like, it takes a lot to offend me, right? I mean, I run my mouth more than anybody in my close circle. So that didn't bother me, but I almost kind of had to educate people and say, I'm not trans, though. So I could ask you, male host, as a man, what you think. But Bruce Jenner is not coming out as gay, so it's not really kind of the same. Like, it's not, no. So I was tempted to do that, but then, as the entertainment correspondent, you don't really put the host on the spot, right? When you're sort of colleagues like that. Now, if I was just a regular guest, I could have easily done that. But, you have a working relationship with the people, and so I just sort of felt. But I did say that off the air. I'm like, well, I could ask you that as a man, period. It's not even necessarily just as a, So the trans community, I understand what they go through. I understand the... just the insensitivity in today's world, the you know the stories, you know what they go through, right? I can understand it. I can't relate to it though, but I know that it would be hurtful. I have that intelligence to understand, and I've said this before too. Even people will go and say, well, you're a white man, you don't know what racism is. I get it. I can understand being called such and such or a such and such. I can understand how that can be hurtful to you. I mean, somebody calls me a fag or whatever. It doesn't bother. Like, I don't, oh, you're a fucking cocksucker. Like, I don't understand how that's, like, why is that? Oh, so sorry, straight man. You don't get sucked off? Is that what you're saying? You're saying it's a bad thing? You're not into head? You're not into oral? Oh, okay, all right. So then you don't have your blonde bitch. You don't have your little hose going down on you? Oh, okay. So are they nasty too? They're a fucking cocksucker. Like, those things don't bother me. It don't bother me at all. It really don't. Never has. My brothers called me, fairy dust and all these things when I was growing up. I think that, that was part of growing up back then, was you just had to develop a thick skin. I certainly wouldn't say that I was bullied or I was, whatever, because that's just not, it was teasing and it wasn't, they weren't doing that to hurt me or to, they weren't doing it so that I would kill myself or anything. And it's sad though that today that is happening and people are experiencing that, and it's terrible. Nobody should have to go through that. But I'm just saying, so that's where I've said that the whole gay pride thing now turning into just Pride Month, and it's, a couple years ago, they're wrapping me up already. See, this is why I couldn't recap the whole history of Pride. But, a few years ago in New York, it made headlines that they didn't even have a gay man as one of the parade marshals. They had every other diversity box checked, but they didn't have a gay man at what we would call the Gay Pride Parade. Like, isn't that bizarre? Isn't that strange? So they were so worried about having a lesbian, a trans, a black, a this, a that, but we forgot to invite a gay man to be a Pride official. Oh, shit. We didn't, oh God. I mean, how do you explain that? How is that an oversight? How is that an oversight? I mean, I don't know. I can't even think of a comparison. That'd be like, a restaurant and going, well, here we cooked it, but we didn't use the oven. We're bringing you no, that's not a good example. Whatever. I'm going to wrap it up because they said we got to go. We're going to take a break. Be right back on The Scribble.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up The Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Feel free to give me a shout anytime. It's always awesome hearing from you. The email address is live@jbonair.com. Live@jbonair.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye for now, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a Speak Free media presentation.
If you want some